How's it going, guys? This is Joshua from Motivao Online Instructors. Today I'm going to be talking about the distance from the point in the x-axis in particular. Now, if I start from 0 and we have a ruler here, right? And I start from 0, the way we measure things is that we look for the distance, the maximum distance, and we say, okay, well, if this is 10 inches, then the distance from 0 to 10 is 10 inches. Or if we say 12 inches, well, the same, or 5 or 6. Now, imagine if instead of starting from 0, I start from a different point. So for example, x1 and x2. And let's say that x1 is equal to 3. And x2 is equal to 6. Now, how do I calculate the distance between these 2 points? Well, I use this formula, the absolute value. Now, the reason we use absolute value in the distance is because absolute value gives us positive values, right? And the distance is a positive number. Now, if we go back here, we see that absolute value of x is equal, or as in another notation, as the square root of x squared. That means that anything that's inside the absolute value, I can rewrite it as the absolute value, for example here, is equal to square root of the value inside squared, right? And the reason we know that is because when we square things, we make them positive, but we don't want the value squared, we want the value not squared. So if, for example, if I take the absolute value of minus 3, that's equal to the square root of minus 3 squared, which is, what is minus 3 squared is 9, positive 9. But what is the square root of 9? It's just 3 again. So again, we see that the absolute value of minus 3 is 3. Now, like I said, let's choose x1 equals 3 and x2 equals 6. To find the distance, we say, well, x2 minus x1, 6 minus 3, right? And what's 6 minus 3? Well, it's just 3. And what is the absolute value of 3? Well, it's just 3, okay? Now, this is very important because from here, I'm going to construct the distance formula. But for now, let's just stick with the basics, which is the distance between points in the x-axis. Now, let's go to the right side here. What happens if we're in the y-axis? Well, it's going to happen exactly the same thing. The only difference is that our axis is going to be in 90 degrees, right? But it's gonna be exactly the same thing. If I want to find the distance between 2 points, I find the absolute value of them. So for example, if I'm here, y1 equals, let's say, -1 in the Cartesian, in the y-axis, and y2 equals, let's say, 3. What is the distance between the point 3, this point, to this point? Well, we're gonna use the absolute value. So it's gonna be y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is -1. And that is equal to what? Well, it's 3 plus 1, which is 4. And what is the absolute value of 4? Is 4. And that's how we find this distance from the y-axis and the x-axis.